Hey guys, so today I wrapped up rewatching The Legend of Korra, which is the sequel to the series Avatar The Last Airbender, which I believe I talked about recently in an episode, just my thoughts on that. Along with finishing the series for Legend of Korra, I also read the graphic novels that go along with it to continue the story after the season ended. Or the series ended, I should say. The cool thing about the Avatar world or I should guess I call it Avatar universe idea is that these graphic novels continue to very, very recently. For example, the newest editions of the graphic novels for Legend of Korra and Avatar The Last Airbender each continue up to 2020. So there's very, very recent content, and it looks like they'll also be continuing to make more content for years to come. They have plenty of storyline to work with. All that being said, the main purpose of this video is I just wanted to talk about Legend of Korra specifically because the big debate, I guess you would call it, is whether Legend of Korra is as good as Avatar The Last Airbender. And I think it's kind of a tricky question to answer. In terms of, is Legend of Korra better than Avatar The Last Airbender when you compare the two to each other? I would say no. I think I prefer Avatar The Last Airbender, not only because it was the original and nostalgia and all that, but also I feel like there was a much stronger character development in Avatar The Last Airbender, and the storyline just captured me more. I was more invested in the storyline, I feel. I think that Legend of Korra, one big benefit to it is it's a much more mature themed show. A lot of more mature issues in general. There's the actual discussion about people dying and stuff and more dire consequences. While Avatar The Last Airbender, yes, it has the one big concept of the world trying to be destroyed by one dude, which is very, very big, and they did a great job with it, but it's kind of a cliche storyline, whereas the Legend of Korra storyline, which I guess this should all be spoiler alert, the main concept for at least the first couple seasons is one dude trying to turn people against each other. So for the first season, it was benders versus non-benders. Second season, it was North versus South, water tribes. You know, that kind of thing where it was people kind of being turned against each other rather than just one evil guy brainwashing people to be evil with him. So in that respect, I do like Legend of Korra for how mature it is, and I also think that if you separate two shows, if you had no knowledge of either show when watching the other, you could very easily claim that either show is one of the best cartoons ever made. I don't know if I'd necessarily rank them like Avatar number 1, Legend of Korra number 2 of cartoons of all time kind of thing. Probably not. But I could see an argument, if Avatar The Last Airbender never existed, I could see an argument being made that Legend of Korra is the greatest cartoon of all time by someone. It has great character development. The world building is absolutely fantastic. Continues beautifully off Avatar The Last Airbender in terms of world building. It creates its own world and its own issues and interactions with the characters in that world. So it's very, very impressive overall. Another great thing is, like I said, they have these graphic novels that continue the story and answer so many of the questions that people had as the series ended. And yeah, overall, just as a world, as a universe, I guess I'll call it, the Avatar universe is by far my favorite universe of it, compared to, say, the Harry Potter universe, the Star Wars universe, the Marvel universe, DC universe, all that kind of stuff. By far my favorite is how well crafted the Avatar universe is. Just so much time and thought invested into making sure little pieces fit together in the concept of how their world works. There's not a ton of plot holes, so to speak. You know, there's always ones that fall through the cracks or whatever. A lot of it's time issues in Avatar The Last Airbender. And a huge plot hole in Avatar The Last Airbender is the concept of how restrained people are when using their powers, when in reality, if people had the powers that exist in Avatar The Last Airbender, there'd just be mass casualties all the time from people misusing their powers. It's just how things would be. And that's obviously not touched since it's a children's TV show, but that's one of the things that should be, I guess, thought about more or talked about more, is the reality of implementing these worlds into a real life society like we live in today. But yeah, overall, Legend of Korra, just to kind of wrap up my thoughts on that, absolutely fantastic show. Definitely hits on some much more mature issues than Avatar The Last Airbender did, and much more relevant current issues. For example, big spoiler alert, but in the graphic novel that immediately follows the end of the Legend of Korra series, there's the talk of sexuality because Korra comes out as gay with a female companion. So it's a very, very mature issue that does not fit in with a kid's show at all. That's why they left it for the graphic novel, I assume. At least in most cases, it's not only that, oh, she's gay and that's in any way off-putting for a TV show. There's been plenty of TV shows that have gay characters. It's the talk that they have about it of dealing with their sexuality and having the world and people around them deal with their sexuality. Those kind of issues are a little more mature than you try to get into with a show that's primarily meant for kids in their preteen years, I guess. It's just not the platform for it, at least in my opinion. So I'm glad that they left that for the graphic novels, but there's also the idea of almost like more this race versus other race concepts in Legend of Korra than Avatar Last Airbender, in terms of different types of benders thinking of each other differently because of the type of bender they are, what kingdom they're from, and all that. Those are all basically their equivalent of race. And in Legend of Korra, those issues are much more pronounced and modern, I guess you would say, like more familiar to what we're used to with race issues and what we're dealing with today. Legend of Korra touches on those a little better, whereas Avatar, the issue of the different benders, their race war type of issue seems to be almost separate and different than what we experience day to day with current race issues in America, in the real world. So, yeah, just gonna wrap it up because this show's going way too long. But overall, Legend of Korra, fantastic show. Avatar: The Last Airbender, I would say, is a slightly better show comparing the two to each other, knowing about both of their existence, but both of them absolutely fantastic. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode.